This episode is brought to you by Lumina Growth Lab. At Lumina, we help professional learning and development consultants who are struggling with steady lead flow, consistent bottom line revenue, and scalability, so they can finally have healthy margins, make more strategic decisions, and ultimately take their business to the next level. Most of the time, our clients come to us frustrated because nothing seems to work outside of word of mouth and referral-based growth. But with the right strategy and support, they're able to confidently add new channels of lead generation and create sustainable revenue year over year growth for cheaper than ever because of the use of AI technologies. If that sounds like you or someone you know, connect with me on LinkedIn and I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about unlocking your business's potential. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Marketing Matrix, everybody. My name is Lisanne. I'm your host, and today I am joined by the wonderful and talented Coach Kev. Coach Kev, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Guys, you are in for a treat. Basically, I'm so glad that this is recorded, and I'm so glad that AI can decipher all the important pieces because almost everything that comes out of Coach Kev's mouth is like, it could be on a tattoo or a t-shirt. And so I'm really excited for him to disseminate his knowledge to you today. Let me tell you a little bit about him, and then I'm going to give him an opportunity to just blow your guys' minds. Today's guest is a powerhouse of leadership, transformation, and heart. Kevin Thibodeaux, better known as Coach Kev, is a leadership coach, culture builder, and change catalyst with nearly 3 decades of experience helping people and organizations grow with purpose. Kevin's journey began at Accenture, where he spent 9 years sharpening the leadership and change management skills and became the foundation for his entrepreneurial path. He went on to found Kimrick Performance Group, overseeing more than 40 million in heavy civil construction projects, and later launched Veritrist Consultants, where he led strategic transformations across industries ranging from tech and media to nonprofits and life sciences. As the creator of the MBA Experiment, he's refining leadership development through real-world, experience-based learning designed for both emerging and established leaders. Kevin currently serves as a coach in the Intuit Ideas program, where he supports small business owners in cities like Atlanta, LA, and Philly. His coaching impact spans 6 continents, and he's especially passionate about empowering founders, women leaders, and professionals from diverse and historically underrepresented backgrounds. He holds an MBA from Duke's School of Business, is ICF certified, and brings deep expertise in emotional intelligence, positive intelligence, and change management to his coaching practice. But what truly sets Coach Kev apart is his empowering, values-aligned approach. Whether he's working with a startup founder or a Fortune 500 executive, he brings clarity, confidence, and cultural insight to the table. Get ready for an energizing, wisdom-packed episode. You're about to hear from someone who doesn't just talk the talk, but walks the transformative walk. Oh man, huge round of applause again. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Coach Kev.
Thank you. Thank you. I get goosebumps listening to that.
I know it's crazy when you look back and you kind of see the impact that you've made over time, those consistent deposits into the world of impact. It really is impressive when you consider all the work that you've done. So first of all, thank you for all the work that you've done in the world. Okay,
Thank you.
so I would love people to hear from your own mouth. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to in the world today. I know you've got a couple different focuses, so you can give us an overview of both. But who's the main people you serve? What's the problem you're trying to solve in the world? What are you passionate about? Give us the lay of the land. What's Coach Kev up to?
Yeah. Thank you. Great introductory question, and happy to share. Excited to be here. So I'll try to temper my excitement because I'm on the go and excited about what I'm doing and the changes I'm helping people to make. But in short, I'm essentially a leadership coach. And the way I like to say it is I help current as well as future leaders develop what I call mental fitness, similar to physical fitness. I build mental muscles and emotional intelligence so that they can lead themselves and lead others, in short. So that's what I'm working on. I'm currently working with a lot of existing leaders, but I'm really trying to work with new leaders because of the challenges we face in the world today. I see them as the future and the promise. So I'm trying to help them build up their mental fitness and emotional intelligence.
I love that. So let us be. I had the opportunity, guys, to meet Kevin a couple weeks ago, and he was kind of letting me in on how he's doing that with future leaders. I'd love if you feel comfortable to share what exactly you're trying to do and how it's so innovative in the consulting space.
Yeah, happy to share. So I just created this new initiative earlier in the year, and it's evolving. It's called the MBA Experiment, and it's an experiment where I'm trying to work with institutions, be it business schools in particular, because I think business school students, I have an MBA myself, they tend to be the future leaders in organizations that run corporate America and nonprofit America, as well as in political environments as well, or circles. So I'm thinking as they handle stressful situations with business school or even prior to business school, they, build up their mental fitness to handle those stressors and challenges. And I work with them in a unique way, have a program that is supported with an app that allows them to build new mental habits. It's like, if I take you to the gym one time, are you going to be fit? Nope. Well, you know how to work out? Probably not. We go to the gym repeatedly over a period of time, and this program is 7 weeks to kind of build that mental fitness. And what I mean by that, mental fitness is essentially your ability to handle everyday life challenges from a place of positivity rather than negativity. Meaning every day our minds are sending negative, thoughts and ideas, because those thoughts and ideas control how you feel eventually and then how you respond to things. But what if you could, build up some mental muscles to really control what you think, hence how you feel and respond? So that's what it's about in short. And I support that journey. And then we begin to tackle challenges and apply what they learn with the mental fitness, because they can do so much more and achieve when their negative mind is not sabotaging them.
I love that. And is there a particular reason why you're interested in students as opposed to like established executives? Or and I know you're doing both, but like why are you passionate about getting in more with these future leaders?
Yeah, that's an easy one. It's because my clients were telling me, I wish I had this earlier in life. And I feel the same way because I practice it. And boy, if I had this in my 20s and undergrad or even grad school by that time, just think of what I could have done, because throughout life, my negative voices, my saboteurs definitely sabotaged me at times. And I didn't make good decisions, or I did things that probably weren't serving me well, and held on thoughts and beliefs and ideas that maybe did not help. Talking to clients, and I've worked with people from 21, my oldest client is 78, and the ones in the 40 to 78 range have been saying, boy, I wish I had this earlier, and could you work with my son, my daughter, my niece, my nephew, my grandkids? And that just came up with the idea. And then one of my students said, I need you to take this to all my classmates. And that started to get me thinking, boy, I can have a bigger impact on the world if I was able to brand this in a way and partner with business schools and corporations to help finance and bring this to leaders. Because I think what I saw last piece was that in the, school domain or in the higher education, we have people that help you get into school. We got the admissions counselors. They help you write the best essays. They help you get ready for the interviews. And then we have the institutions that hopefully do a good job of teaching the academic skills that you need to go out and to, have a job. And then you have the career placement and the career counselors. They do a good job of preparing you for the resume writing and the interviews. But who's kind of helping you with the saboteurs, that imposter syndrome, or the things you may do when you get pushed up, you're back against the wall. Like you may avoid things, or you may try to control things, or you may try to please everyone. Those negative voices. So I kind of fill that gap is what I present to my potential clients and saying, guess what? What if you could quiet those negative voices? Just think how you would do in those interviews, or just getting into school, or getting in that new job. Things could be so much better. And that's how it all came together in my.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So, just out of like personal curiosity, like you have these older executives that like have like the wisdom of age, right? And they're saying, "Man, if I could have had this earlier." And they're probably looking back at like the different times when they sabotaged themselves along the way as you're learning this. Is it challenging to teach these upcoming leaders that don't have the wisdom of age yet? Like they don't know what they don't know because they haven't been smacked in the face by rejection or losing a job or missing a promotion or like whatever the things are that, these older leaders are looking back being if only, right? Like, how do you, has that been a challenge to sell that? Or like, is there a way that you capture their attention so that they see a need early? Like, how are you overcoming that obstacle?
Very good question. And truth is, They don't have to have as much life experience to be smacked in the face by these saboteurs or to reflect and discern what they learned because these saboteurs, believe it or not, start out as early as 5 years old. They come in as guardians, telling us, hey, to protect us from the imagined or the real world threats that we have as kids, right? So, because our environments are going to be, and parents are not perfect, as we know, and you kind of develop these little guardians in your mind to help you navigate and handle the challenges. So, by the time you become an adult, boy, they're no longer needed, believe it or not, right? And so, how do we stop them? And they've already experienced things typically that have shown up, in their lives up to that point. And as we walk through what their saboteurs are, they identify situations where they're already showing up. And our goal is for them not to be smacked in the face by those saboteurs down the line, for them to, you know, access their wise part of the brain. We call it the sage part, and to make decisions from that perspective. So the analogy I tend to use is if I put your hand on a hot stove, how long before you take it off? And the
Really quick.
answer is immediately. You know why? Because the pain, some may think it's a bad thing, but it's actually an alert. It tells your brain, hey, corrective action is needed. Take my hand off the stove and treat it. And sometimes if you make that analogous to like negative emotions, how long should you stay in them? It's an alert. It says
Yeah.
something is wrong. Why am I feeling this way? What's making me frustrated, angry, disappointed, upset? There is a reason. And what if we could understand what that is about and then figure out what do you want to do about it, but not while your hand is on the stove? Because we
Mm.
tend to ruminate, fixate, stay in that emotion, and then we try to solve the problem. Well, I can argue it's a lot harder to solve a jigsaw puzzle when your hand is burning up on the stove.
It's a fact. That's science. That's science.
So, in effect, what I do is teach you mental fitness to take your hand off the stove and then handle your challenges, your stressors from a place of positive mindset as opposed to burning up. That's
I
it.
love that. I
So
love
it's
that.
easy to kind of, talk to folks at a younger level because they're already experiencing this in any facet of life. They may have different occurrences. They're dealing with social media and they're dealing with this or that, and it's the same thing. Let's handle it before the big things come, and you can build those muscles up to handle as things get more complex or more challenging or more stressors with family and careers and so forth.
I love that.
Yeah.
And who have been your mentors? Like people that you've either learned these frameworks from or developed the frameworks from? Like did you have certain
Yeah.
mentors? Was it a process of therapy? Like how did your frameworks come into existence?
Very good question. It's a combination. I relished, two coaches in the coaching domain. One is Shirzad Shameen. He's a very famous coach, came up with the whole methodology of what I call PQ or positive intelligence. That's actually what he calls it. And I'm a PQ coach. And that whole mindset I just shared with you is based on the PQ framework and, conquering the negative mind, amplifying the positive mind, and then solving problems from that perspective, right? Because everything can be seen as a gift or an opportunity with the right, mindset. So that's what I do. So Shazad Shameen, he wrote the book Positive Intelligence, New York Times bestseller. He's one of my cornerstones. Another is a lady by the name of I had the name on the tip of my tongue. It's going to come to me. She wrote Laser Focus Coaching. It's Franklin. Boy, I can't remember the name. I had it on. It'll come back to me. But I like her style and how she delivers the coaching. So those two are kind of the cornerstones combined with all my coach training. But aside from that, guess what? I mean, I've been through the programs, I've had the therapy, I've had my own coach. So my coach has been very instrumental as well as my parents in helping to shape Marion Franklin. That's why I wanted to come back to the name. Marion Franklin, unbelievable. She's written several books. I love all her works because she's so practical. And as a coach, we tend to want to beat ourselves up for not being perfect at times or having all the right questions or right advice or whatever that is. And she actually helps me to calm my mind and not let my saboteurs get in the way, combined with the positive intelligence aspect. So I use those two combined with my coach, therapist, and parents have been
I love
instrumental.
it. I love it. Doing the work yourself. It's impressive. And what would you say is something that you do differently than most in your industry, in the professional learning and development management consulting space? What do you do differently?
What do I do differently? Well, part of my deal initially out the gate, you think about coaching, clients come in with a challenge. They come in with something they want to either achieve or they want to overcome, and then they tend to, tell you about it. and you listen in. And I start with empathy. Many coaches do that, but I really empathize and put myself in their shoes and wonder what it must feel like to understand what they're going through. And then as a part of that, I ask them up front. I'm like, let's do what we call a saboteur discovery. And that's something early on where we try to identify those negative voices that have been plaguing them, because in that sharing of that initial story, I can pick up on what saboteurs are showing up. But we do have a little assessment that kind of confirms it, and we walk through it, and I get their understanding of, is this a surprise? And many times, I kid you not, 98% of the time, they're like, this is it. This is showing up, and this shows up in these situations. And I anticipated this, and I don't know what to do. It's always in my head. And so once we have that, and the reason I do that is what I found is if we start tackling what it is they want to tackle without quieting the negative minds, as you begin to do transformative change, that's when those negative voices really tend to rear up. And then what you see and what I found is my clients in between sessions were struggling. In the session, we're quieting the saboteur. Outside the session, it's getting the best of them, and they're not as effective or as efficient in achieving what it is they want to achieve. So first part is, empathy, understanding where they are and understanding the saboteurs and teaching them how to quiet those negative voices, because they're going to rear up, especially as we embark on this new journey. And for my leaders, I call it my leadership journey. They're going to show up and try to sabotage, but we're going to learn how to quiet them up front. So when they show up, we handle it and we keep moving as to what it is they want to overcome. So that's kind of the distinction or the distinguishing characteristic. And I tell my clients, this is what we're doing and why. We're going to take one step to understand before we try to achieve what it is. And they tend to trust me on that.
I love that. I love that. Now, I'm curious, did you get your MBA with the intention to understand the industry of executives, with the intention to understand the business side of a coaching business? Like, what was the function of your MBA in your journey?
Yes, that's a good question. I never intended to get the MBA thinking I would be a coach. At the time I got an MBA, if you'd have told me that, I'd have thought I'd probably be an astronaut, because I didn't see coaching in that point in my life. Because truth is, I'll be 53 in a few weeks. And at the time I got my MBA, early 30s. So I had no idea how life would evolve and what epiphanies would come about. So when I got my MBA, I was in corporate America, and I was recruited to be a part of a private equity team, and many of the folks on the team at MBAs from top universities and institutions. So I was encouraged to get my MBA, and that's why I went back to school to get an MBA and work in private equity.
That's awesome. So have you done quite a few coaching experiences in private equity because you have a corporate background there?
I've coached people that work in the industry. I haven't targeted them in particular. I mean, I get people from all walks of life, but no, I haven't focused on that. But before I was doing the private equity stint, I was in business management consulting. As you mentioned, Accenture, which is the big consulting firm, global firm. And I helped companies around the world implement change, be it process, technology. In this day and age, it'd be more digital or AI transformations. And I would come in and we'd assess where you are today, where you want to be tomorrow, and close the gap. Right? Essentially helping clients make more money, save money, or deploy their capital more effectively and efficiently. So did that for a while and loved that. And then that transformed into my own firm doing that on a smaller scale, change management. And that's dealing with more the people side, which led me to coaching, because you start dealing with the psychology and the behavioral changes that organizations have to go through. Because what is an organization but comprised of the people? That's probably one of the biggest assets besides whatever IP they may have. And so I would help leaders to communicate and engage properly, timely, and appropriate changes that were happening. Because if you do it too late, people feel blindsided, and they're going to feel a certain way about it. And there could be resentment and resistance, and the very impact you hope to achieve, or the gains or the revenue or the cost savings, could be sabotaged. So it was the same thing on a macro scale. So I would literally help leaders to connect with the hearts and minds of their teams in a way that allowed the change to happen in a smooth way so that it could be sustainable. You get the benefits.
I love that. Well, and like actually enjoy your life after the big shift, right? Not just be like, oh,
Right.
well, like,
Change
why
is
do we
hard.
even do that?
Change is hard. People get in their routines and, who wants to change? I kind of like it. I'm used to it. We got these systems and processes, and why do we have to try this new stuff and this and that? So how you present things make people aware, build buy-in, awareness, and knowledge, sustainability. There's a method to that madness.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so there's a big difference between like being a function in like a big firm like Accenture versus having your own small boutique firm. What's been the biggest challenge for you in that jump? Like especially like in the biz development? Like was it marketing? You talked a little bit about positioning, how I think this was the conversation we had before we hit record. Sorry guys, but positioning in terms of like who you're exactly going to go after, niching down and targeting, traffic, sales, operations. Like what's been the toughest side business development wise as you've jumped from being a part of a corporation to running the show?
Yeah. So the personal thing from a business entrepreneur aspect, for me, business development was one of the biggest things. I was a delivery guy. When I left Accenture, I was starting to be more in the sales side and developing relationships. And, I always thought you do good work, people tend to recognize and maybe want to keep you on that particular job or client site, but eventually you may have to span out and bring in more business. So as I went into my own business, boy, that was a big eye opener in the sense that you got to, continually deliver. And that's part of, BD because they may keep you and do more work, but you got to find new clients. And for me, that whole marketing and selling myself, boy, I had a lot of imposter syndrome at times. Not because I felt like I wasn't worthy, but I just thought sales kind of gave me a little bit of, I don't know. I didn't like sales. It just
Give you
generally
the
did.
ick.
Yeah. So my own, like some of the stuff I practice from a coaching perspective, I look back and reflect from a place of blameless discernment. No blame, because I can literally judge myself. But I never really, it wasn't my, natural pull. I didn't have a gravitational pull. Some people are just generally salespeople. Everyone thought could be good at it and thought I would be good at it given my temperament, but I just genuinely didn't like to do it. It's like, I like to swim, but I like to do, backstroke. I didn't like to do the breaststroke or whatever it was. That was kind of that's how I looked at it. But I started to, the challenge was, getting out there and doing things that allow me to network and even advertise. And I just didn't avoided it. That was my saboteur, just avoid it. And that way I don't have to deal with it. And then how do I get more business? It was tough. But on the construction side, when I had that business, I used to do a lot of government bidding. And therefore, they would present it online and you just go out and bid it. I kind of like that so much. I'm like, I love my government side. The consulting side, I had to hone in. And that was an area where my coach and I had to, focus on what is it making me, fearful or avoidant? Is it a little bit of imposter? Is it a little bit of skill that I need to build up and build confidence? And those were the areas I began to work on and have leveraged as my businesses have evolved.
I love that. What would you say? Like every personal development conference I go to, they always throw out a percentage of like how much is mental, like how much of success is mental versus skill. I'm curious to know your perspective from your experience, your research, your philosophy. Like if you were to take that percentage on a sliding scale between mindset or what's going on up here versus skill set, where would you put those percentages?
That's a good question, and it's changed with time. So today, I would say a lot of the folks I meet with have a lot of skill. They have a lot of knowledge and experience and insight. But boy, quieting your mind so that that can be brought to fruition. So the good analogy is a lot of sports teams, both at the collegiate and the professional levels, are bringing in fitness coaches or coaches that can help them, let's say, let go of that bad play they just made so that they can focus on the next. Because that keeping that focus on that last play, boy, can derail the whole outcome of the game. Because you're beating yourself up in the game when you gotta let it go. So they practice mental habits of letting things go. So just imagine if you're running a business and you got the education and you got the experience and you got the contacts and you got the network and you got what it takes, but your mind keeps getting in the way. How important is that, boy? So it's hard to say if it's 50-50 or 30-40. It depends on the person per se and where you're at in your business life cycle. If I get to the person who's, Coach, I'm doing all the right things, but my mind is getting in the way, then it's probably 80% of what you need to figure out. And the 20% is just sharpening the saw on those technical skills and strategy and tactical skills you need versus someone who's got the mental sharpness, but boy, they're missing the technical or the tactical skills, the strategic skills, then that would be a bigger percentage for them on that piece and less on the mental. But more often than not, I work with a lot of leaders who have the know-how what they're doing, but their mind is getting in the way and preventing
Yeah.
them. So imposter, like I mentioned for my own example. So
Mhm.
in that case, it was
Mhm.
80% of my mind and 20%, doing. I just needed to, quiet my negative voices.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. That's usually the percentage that I hear people throw out is 80/20, and I was curious what percentage you were gonna throw out as well.
Yeah. But doesn't diminish. You still need to know what you can't you can't say I'm gonna do X, Y, Z and don't know how to do that. And just because your mind is like, I'm great. No, you gotta have some skills that people and services or products people would like to they need to be valuable, no doubt.
It's true, yeah, there has to be some competencies and proficiencies,
No doubt, no
for
doubt. You're like, I
sure.
got the right mindset, coach. Why is the business working? Well, what are you doing? Different challenge.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so since you've got a couple things going on because you have your executive coaching clients, you're working on getting in touch with graduate programs at business schools. What marketing channels are you considering in the next 12 to 24 months for either one or the other or both or feeding each other? Like how are you conceptualizing that now that your coach has helped you realize like it's a necessary part of the process?
Yeah, and one, I welcome it, and I've actually gotten better and embrace it. I actually like it. I definitely use it a lot with clients in the physical fitness. You have a lot of folks that like to do leg workouts versus upper body. Typically one or the other. It's very rare that somebody's like, I like to do both. And I'm like, okay, what'll help you do the other side? And for me, what's making it easier and making it more fun. And I do that by doing what I call experiments. I'm curious, like I want to do an experiment. And I'm like, I want to find out what this will, be like. So I've been running a number of experiments from doing workshops with some of the nonprofits in the higher education domain to make them aware of who I am and what I do. I'm doing email campaigns, and I started out doing those manually just so I can get an understanding of what that was. I hadn't done an email, so I'm doing an experiment to automate that. I'm looking at doing white papers. Of course, I'm doing podcasts. I'm speaking at conventions, and I'm doing, did I say workshops? Yeah, I'm doing workshops. So that's
Hmm.
where I'm starting now. Eventually, as things grow and proliferate, there's going to be some definitely some targeted ads and marketing, more intentional. But at that point, I'm just doing more of the easy, low cost experiments to see what will drive more activity as far as leads and quality leads.
I love that. Well, and I love even the frame of that it's an experiment, right? Because if it's an experiment, then you recognize that we're coming at it from curiosity, not with like this like hope that like if it doesn't work, then all is lost, and our minds can lose control in it. And so I think that's a powerful frame for how you're going about finding what's going to work for you.
Yeah, thank you. And the last piece to add, I see it as most of these experiments, depending on the outcomes and what I learn, as an opportunity or a gift. Like I'm going to gain something, like either some know-how, some new skill sets, some understanding, some market data, some feedback on what's working or not. So it's a win-win. And I don't beat myself up if it doesn't pan out. That's why you experiment. Some are gonna pan out very well, and some are gonna be like, you know what, or the client or so forth.
Yeah, I love that. Have you are you naturally a positive person? Like you like exude like positivity and optimism. Is that natural for you or has that been learned? Is it a little bit of both? Like tell me about that trait of yours.
I think definitely learned in that everything that I share with my clients, I've done and been trained on as well. And I can honestly say prior to, I did a lot. I was not as positive and optimistic because I did a lot of things with my hand on the stove. If you go back to my analogy, my hand was on the stove and I was constantly stressing and worrying about it. Things that I couldn't control. My saboteurs were to judge myself and then try to even exert more control, and that was causing even more stress. So trying to make decisions or handle challenges while you're worrying about the very thing you're trying to resolve wasn't helping me. I was in tunnel vision. And so you talk to me, I don't know, even as a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, you would probably see a different Kevin. Not that I wasn't optimistic, but boy, I wasn't as excited or just naturally happy because I took my hand off the stove. I'm not burning up. So the happiness is just really natural. Whatever happens, life is going to bring challenges, it's going to bring stressors, but how I handle that is totally different. So this is
I love it.
natural, the natural way. So yeah,
It's great. And like everything you've shared in your journey, I love like a theme that I'm seeing is like it's evolutionary. Everything is evolutionary, whether it's your focus, what you're doing in your business, how your mindset has evolved, the focus of your work. You've just talked about evolution quite a bit, which I think is a very, I don't know, I think human is the word I'm looking for. Very human and like vulnerable element to that we all experience. So It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Uh,
And then these people that I know recognize the change. And there's artists they I mean, especially family. My sister was the first, like, what's happened? What's going on? Everything all right? Like that was the question out the gate. Like, what are you doing? And literally I took her through the program. I said, hey, I want you to try something. Do you trust me? You know, matter of fact, I wanted to do it with her husband, my niece, and my nephew, and they didn't have time, but she did it, and she thanks me till this day. She's like, it really changed how I handle things, especially the stressors of being a dentist and a mother and a wife and everything else, because we can get bogged down and we don't realize what's happening and we're trying to handle things with our hand on the stove.
yeah, I love that. It's such a good, such a visceral analogy, right? Because we've all touched a hot stove, then the thought of keeping your hand on that, is just like excruciating. And but we all do it when it comes to, like you said, the ruminating on situations or things that are bugging us. So
But it's
yeah,
hard. How do you stop your mind? How do you command your mind? You need the mental muscles. That's what we built. So you can't take your hand off the stove and you're like, no, I can't stop these intrusive thoughts, these negative voices. No, you can, but it takes practice. We got to go to the gym, the
yeah.
mental gym, work out your mind.
I love that. I love that concept. I'm someone who really values physical fitness as well as mental fitness as well. And so, and there's so much to learn and grow, but I understand the comparison for sure. They both take exercise, work, consistency, discipline. So, yeah, I love that. Okay, so a couple more questions for you.
Great.
What are some current industry trends that are impacting your business right now?
Good question. Two main things. So as my new concept to work with the younger folks, the students, the grad students, boy, lately in our current environment, there's been, higher education has been a little bit on the news dealing with, cutbacks to funding and research. And that's put all the institutions on, and they made them skittish to have conversations. But guess what? I kind of reframe it. I kind of see it as a gift or an opportunity. What now? What can we do now? So I've been having conversations with those that are open, but a lot are kind of waiting to see, where their funding is going to be and what cuts may come about. So that is definitely impacting the new endeavor. As far as my existing, clients with the seasoned executives, the current leaders are just navigating change, in particular, AI, the big change that's going to happen. And so if I put back on my change management hat, the theory is that AI, given, once it hits businesses, large, small, medium, and they start revamping how they work and leveraging it in a more, let's say, expanded capacity, doing AI workflows where AI can literally do a lot of the heavy lift, if anything, that's, research or knowledge or reasoning. And you're talking about changes in how you do business and maybe less people. There'll be more people that oversee and validate and check things than actually doing that reasoning and thought. And that would take weeks at a time, can be done in minutes, if not, seconds. And so that's a big concern for a lot of the leaders that are, running, companies at the big level, even the medium size, even small businesses are starting to figure out, I need to really, think about how AI is impacting my business. And that's causing some stress and challenge because they need to get educated on what's happening, what it can do and what it can, and kind of where it's headed.
Yeah. And do you is that something that you're actively like trying to put together solutions or information to help alleviate some of that stress that they have? Or the AI trend. That's not really
Yeah,
even a trend. It's here, it's happening. It's
it's
not
here.
going away.
It's here. I'm doing a few things. One, I'm educating myself and getting trained up on what it is because I have a business too. So I have all the operational needs from a back office and administrator, from accounting and billing and how it impacts coaching. I know a lot of coaching organizations are anticipating how it might impact the coaching industry as a whole. So I'm educating myself and learning. And then I always have my consultative mind back, consulting and change and realizing there will be a lot of change management in the next 5 years because organizations are going to have to reinvent themselves. And it's typically going to be a smaller workforce. They'll be able to do more with less. So understanding, I like to, as a coach, stay abreast of what's happening in the world and some of the things that are impacting my clients because a lot of those things are the culprits. Well, the events themselves are not the culprits of the thoughts. Like I have clients that, given some of the tariffs that are happening, how that's impacting their business. So being aware. So, as they share their stories, I'm aware of what the current events are and what's happening in the world that may be causing those intrusive or negative thoughts, those inner critics. And so that's why I like to stay abreast. And some clients may want me to do more, but I'm not an AI architect. But I can be dangerous given my training. I've done some training just to understand how to simplify my business and do more with less.
Yeah, yeah. I love that one. It really goes back to like what you were talking about in the very beginning of like the empathetic mind, right? That like
Yes.
you're because you're implementing it in your own business and you're really listening, like you're able to like understand like the anxiety and the fear that's coming to their mind in their organization because of this massive shift that's happening.
Yes.
So yeah, I love it.
Well,
I love it.
well, need you to be a spokesman. I need to keep that. That's a great way to, no doubt. That's exactly it.
I love that. Well, Coach Kev, it has seriously been a joy. I'm looking at the time and I can't believe how much time has gone by already. I'm grateful for the work that you've done on yourself and the work that you've done in the world. I love how you, like a few things that I really resonate that you've talked about, like quieting the mind and stilling your life so that you can actually think in a situation and take by taking your hand off of the stove. I think most people perceive that the saboteurs are reality when they're not. And I love the words that you've given to like many of the things that I've felt. I feel like you're giving me vocabulary that I just really appreciate. So thank you again for what you're doing in the world, and it's been an honor to have you on the Marketing Matrix today.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
Is there any way that you want to lead people to get in touch with you? If you want people to connect in some way, where's the best place to do that?
Yeah, the best place to do that would be either my website. They can book a free saboteur assessment where we're literally going to assess your saboteurs and talk about things that are important to you and understand what those are and how do we conquer them. And my website is just www.vertist.com. It's a very simple page. I created myself, believe it or not. I simplified everything, so it's pretty easy to navigate. Other than that, would be LinkedIn, and that's just Kevin Thibodeaux on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And the Thibodeaux is the hard part. It's Thibodeaux. But hopefully you'll see my face there and smile. So those are the easiest ways to contact me and reach out, and happy to meet with folks and share, or at least understand what it is that, they would want to meet about.
Perfect. I love that. Well, guys, I'm going to put those links in the notes so that you can just click the link and go right there to either his LinkedIn or his website. But Kev, thanks so much for all of the heart and passion and excitement that you've brought onto the podcast today. And hopefully we can have you again. It would be great to have another conversation. So thanks so much for joining the show.
Would love to. Thank you.